Welcome to the ISO Show, dispelling myths and sharing tips for success to improve your business with ISO standards.
If you're listening to this podcast, then you're in great company. We've got thousands of listeners who have a thirst for continual improvement and raising standards in business. Whether your interest is in quality, sustainability, or risk standards, I'd love to welcome you as a member to our online platform for all things ISO, the Isology Hub. The Isology Hub is the leading place to get access to all of your online resources, from in-depth training courses through to our very popular coffee break training, to templates and action plans and many other resources to help raise standards. As a member, you get access to over 100 courses, taking you from learner to practitioner to leader. The Isology Hub has all the resources that you need, which will really help to make your life easier and to help improve compliance in those business critical areas. So if you'd like access to learning and compliance resources ranging from data privacy to environmental management, anti-bribery, business continuity, quality, health and safety, to name just but a few, the list is endless actually, then we'd love for you to come and join us. Just head over to the isologyhub.com.
Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of the ISO Show. I'm Ian Battersby, Senior ISO Consultant with Blackmores UK Limited. Today I'm joined again by my colleague Emma Coxhill, who specialises in, among other things, information security for us. And we're going to cover episode 2 on the subject of TISAX. And we've already covered TISAX in how it supports you in, getting into the supply chain in the automotive industry. Today we're going to talk about 27001 and how TISAX compares and contrasts to that. So welcome, Emma. Thank you for the last episode you did. Welcome to the second episode. How are you feeling today? Are you more confident than the last time?
Yes, it's now my second, so it's not my first anymore. So yes, I'm looking forward to it. Nice to see you again.
Like I said, seasoned pro now. Yeah. So remind us of what TISAX is before we launch into its comparison to 27001.
Yep, so TISAX stands for Trusted Information Security Assessment Exchange. So that's what the actual letters stand for. And it's the assessment developed by the automotive industry, the German Association for Automotive Industry, so the VDA, and it's managed by the ENX Association, based on the 27001 Annex A controls, and it's the automotive industry's standardised framework for assessing and sharing information security results between manufacturers and their suppliers. So it's a controlled way of making sure everything runs standardised, so it runs in line.
Yeah, and we explored in the last episode the benefits of having it, didn't we? And how it can support you in, basically, in many instances, it's absolutely mandatory for suppliers into the automotive industry, isn't it? And some other sort of professional services and the like in the automotive industry. We didn't talk in great detail about 27001 last time, so could you just briefly tell us how TISAX differs from that particular standard, 27001?
Yeah, sure. So the difference is, so if I go through 27 first, 27001 can be applied to any industry, whereas TISAX is only for the automotive industry. 27001 has standard controls and clauses that people will go through, and that is everyone will do the same, so there's no difference.
Right.
You've got exactly the same ones. Whereas TISAX, you choose the level, you choose the subject area that you want to cover. And then with 27001, you receive a certificate at the end, which you can share, you can display, you can do whatever you want with your certificate. Whereas TISAX, you receive labels and they're only on the E&X portal that you determine who can see, who can access those labels. So it's very more controlled just with E&X portal users only.
And how does the process of certification, recertification, annual surveillance differ? Does that exist within TISAX then?
Well, good news a little bit on the TISAX side is that once you have your labels, that is it for 3 years. But there's a big process to receive your labels. However, 27001, you will go through your stage 1, stage 2, receive your certification, and then you'll have a surveillance 1 audit in year 2, surveillance audit 2 in year 3. Well, that was a hard thing to say. And and then you have a recertification. So for ISO 27001, it's a constant yearly audit. TISAX, once you receive your labels, they are yours. They don't change for 3 years.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
What if you change in that period of time significantly in any way? Do you have to go through any additional recertification?
You will have to speak to your auditor, and you would have to do some extra work, depending. So if it's at a higher level, you would have to do some extra work depending on the level. If you're doing a new subject, you would have to then go through an audit for that. So any change to your scope, so what your scope, you put your scope in your E&X portal, any changes to that, you would have to go through a process to change to the new requirement.
I imagine that would only be to address that change in scope, though, yeah?
Yes, you don't have to do the whole thing again. No. But it would last until everything expires for the 3 years.
Okay.
So if you, in year 2, you decide actually we need level 3 for something, you would do your level 3 and you've already got your level 2, but that level 3 will only last for 2 years till everything expires at the end of the 3 years.
So the external audit burden sounds like it's lesser through TISAX than it would be through a traditional management system standard.
It is, but there's a lot of work to get there.
Yes, it sounds like it. From our last discussion, it sounds like quite a protracted exercise. I imagine it doesn't remove the concept of internal audit against the requirements, so does it? You wouldn't wait till 3 years are up and then suddenly discover you're failing an external audit, would you?
No, you can do internal audits as many as you like, whenever you like. So I always recommend minimum would be 6 months before your TISAX labels expires to start doing the recertification part of it again. But you can always do yearly internal audits just to make sure you're on track.
Right. Would a customer enforce anything further over and above what's in the specified certification? Would they say, we expect more, we expect to see your internal audits, or do they just accept on a trust basis that once you've got your labels, you are then ready for the next 3 years?
I can't speak on all the clients. Most of them would just go with the label because they know that you've gone through the process. They may ask for extra evidence. That depends on who your client is. But most will just go,
okay.
The label is enough to be satisfied that you've gone through the process.
Great. So the burden is reduced there, isn't it? Yeah. Can a company have TISAX without 27001 and vice versa?
Absolutely. So they're both standalone standards. However, they complement each other. So you can have one on their own. However, it's definitely an advantage to have both together.
Right.
And also with 27001, because it's across the board of all different industries, you might not need to have TISAX, but vice versa as well. TISAX is only for the automotive industry. You might not need to have it.
Right.
Have 27 if you don't have any other sort of areas, any other industries that you're covering. So if you're just doing automotive, then TISAX is plenty.
Yeah, so you might be supplying into multiple sectors, yeah? And you would use TISAX for different sectors, then it would only be in the automotive industry, yeah?
Yeah.
So if you've got 27001, for instance, how much of TISAX is already covered by what you're doing?
Yeah, the TISAX is mapped to the 27001 Annex A controls. So if you have 27001 already, you're looking at up to about 80% already in place for TISAX.
Right.
But it just depends on your 27001 because you have your statement of applicability and you may have some controls that are not applicable that you'll need to bring in for TISAX. But also there's extra requirements for TISAX over 27001. So example, suppliers is quite heavy in TISAX for suppliers, especially third-party suppliers. Assets is a lot heavier in TISAX. You'll have your standard for 27001, but TISAX require extra. So there will be some more required. Another thing is, though, 27001 doesn't cover prototypes and also only covers a little bit on data protection. So if you do have those two subject areas, then you are looking for quite a bit more for TISAX. Most of Annex A are the information security areas that are covered, and then prototypes and the data protection would be extra.
Mm-hmm. So it really does depend what you're doing for whom, doesn't it?
Exactly. It all comes down to the levels and the subject areas you're covering.
Yeah. So can you see a benefit in implementing both TISAX and 27001, depending on what type of organisation you are?
Absolutely. If you have both of those, it really shows that you are your organisation is a stronger, more versatile company. They complement each other really, really well. You'll have more customer trust and long-term resilience. Also, wider market appeal and access. And you'll have a more maturity, security posture than other standards just on their own.
Right.
So if you have both together, you're really covering a really good groundwork just to show how important security is to your business and to your clients as well.
Right, okay. And as we sort of touched on a second ago, if you're working across multiple sectors, you can't just rely on one, can you? If you want to be in automotive, you have to have TISAX. If you're working in other sectors, you have to have 27001. So it's certainly a benefit, isn't it?
Very much so.
So if I'm starting today, I'm in a business that wants to get TISAX labelled. What's the sort of time frame? What's reasonable? I'm guessing it depends on the type of organisation you are, but how long will it take?
Yeah, it depends on many factors. So you say organisation, resources availability, etc., etc. Again, I mentioned it previously, it's not a 2-week project.
No.
It's quite a long one. So it depends really. To get to assessment ready, so that's up to, you've got your at least more than 2.71 on your self-assessment, you've done your internal audits, you've done everything, you're ready for your external audits. If you have 27001, you're looking at probably about a minimum of 3 months to 6 months. But if you don't have 27001, you're looking at least 6 months plus. And the reason for this is because of maturity level 2 and 3. So on TISAX, you're trying to get level 3. And the difference between 2 and 3 is 2 is you have everything in place and it's been released and communicated and everyone's been trained. Whereas 3 is saying it's been in place for a certain length of time. We recommend minimum 3 months. That you can show, you can do reporting on it, you can prove that it's embedded, you can show different statistics, and you can be able to demonstrate to your auditor that people are following it as part of the day-to-day activity. But level 2 is just releasing it. So it just shows the difference between 2 and 3, and that's why I recommend to our clients is when you do your self-assessment, be honest.
Yes.
Because 2, a lot of people think they've got 3 and they've actually only got 2. So it's quite a tough one. It's quite strict as well. It's very strict with the 2 and the 3.
Okay, right. And I'm guessing all sorts of factors apply. Number of sites, I imagine, is important.
Yes.
The size of your organisation, your supply chain, your customers.
Yep. If you add on more, so if you only had information security, that's probably what we're looking at. But if you add more, you're going to have extra time needed. So I would say if you don't have 27001, very minimum would be 6 months, but you are looking at more than that.
Right, okay. And when we talk about traditional management system standards, there are a number of things, but leadership always comes into play. It's a central part of the standards and the commitment of the organisation to it. I'm guessing that again here is that level of ownership and leadership is important to drive it.
Oh, absolutely. It needs to come from top down. It really does, because they need to make sure that the resources are in place, the budget's in place, you have the time to actually conduct this. Because people do think it's a 2-week job. It's not. It's quite a big project. So you have to have the people to do the work. Management need to allow the people to do the work, because it's time consuming. It's not a big project, but they have to be pushing it from above because it can affect the business. If you don't have TISAX, you may not win that business.
Yes, indeed.
That you've been bidding for. So it's very important they are involved and they take part and they promote it and they continuously support it as well.
Yeah. And what you've described there is a strategic business driver, isn't it? If you're not getting the business, leadership need to be involved, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. It can affect the business. I mean, if you can lose business if you don't have TISAX in place.
And how long does the process, once you've engaged with an audit body, what's the mechanics of that? How long does that take? How long does the assessment and reporting on that take?
Depending on your results. So say you have a kick-off meeting and then it depends on auditors' availability when you have your first audit. But they will do that offline, so you need to provide the information. And then you have a audit with them. And then depending on your results, if your results is quite a few non-conformities, you've got that time that you need to create that corrective action plan.
That 3-6 month window like you mentioned previously, yeah?
So my predictions of how long it takes is only up to assessment ready. So after that, it all depends on your results. So that's why I highly recommend you conduct some internal audits or something beforehand to see how ready you are. So we can pick up if there are any non-conformities before the auditor does. That will help so much on the other side of the main audit.
As a business tool, regardless of whether you're going for TISAX or another management system standard, or just want to check the health of your own business, internal audit is an absolute key, isn't it? To find out what your issues are before somebody else comes along and finds them.
An independent internal audit can help so much because it will find those concerns before your main audit. And you have time then, and you can decide whether or not to continue with your external audit, but you have time to look in and resolve them.
Yeah.
Because once you've done your external audit, you really want to have that certificate or labels or something as soon as possible. So to be ready for it, I highly recommend internal audits. They will really go deep and demonstrate to you what you need to work on, if anything. I'm hoping that you never get a non-conformity, but it could happen. Pick it up early.
And I think the history of spectacular business failures is littered with examples of that lack of critical self-examination, isn't it? You go through many an episode where organisations haven't really looked at what's gone wrong, or even got external people to look at what's going wrong before they've gone belly up.
Yeah, with TISAX, for example, you've done the self-assessment yourself. Unless you have someone external to support you, you've done it yourself. You might be lying to yourself, thinking that you've actually higher than you think you are. And an audit can come along, internal audit can come have a look at that and go, actually, you're not quite covering what is the requirement. So it's good to pick it up first before you go for the actual external audit itself.
Well, you've just touched on external support then. So how could we at Blackmores support organisations who want to go ahead with implementing TISAX?
Yeah, it's depending how much support you would like, because we can offer a full support from start to finish with our 7 Steps to Success projects, and that could be TISAX on its own, it could be TISAX and 27001 together, or it could be TISAX then ISO 27001 afterwards. You can do that part. So that's a full support package for you. We can help with your self-assessment. Sorry?
Integrated.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, you have a choice. If you could just do TISAX, or you can have parts of the ISO 27001. We can help with the self-assessment, so we can actually, similar to a gap analysis, we can sit down and go through that with you. We could also check the maturity level with you, readiness for the main audit.
Mm-hmm.
We can conduct all the internal audits for you. So that's what we were discussing earlier. We can go through it and do those checks for you. We can also be present in your actual TISAX assessment audit itself. So if you want extra support, we can be there when you have your actual audit itself. So there's many different ways depending on how you feel comfortable with TISAX. If you want us to be there, support you from start to finish, I would definitely recommend our 7 Steps to Success. But if you're confident to do some bits on your own, we can just pop in and help where you need help.
So we could, we can tailor the approach to whatever the particular needs are and the particular level of maturity.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing, and what we cover a lot in this at Blackmores, is that we have ways of working. We like to fit with your company. We're not a tick boxing consultancy. We want to sort of get involved in your company to find out how TISAX can work for you, not how you just get TISAX. How can it affect your business? We want to make sure your policies align with your company and not just align with TISAX. That's our way of working, really, just to make sure that it's embedded for you as your company and how you work, and not just...
Yeah, aligned to the customer's requirements, the scope, that's important, all those sorts of issues to get covered. Okay. Well, that's great. Emma, thank you. Now, you'll be able to go and host your own ISO shows in the future, I think.
Thanks.
I'll hand over to you on the next show. That's all from us today on TISAX and 27001, and the comparison between the two. Hopefully that's been of use to you. There's more that we're going to offer. Before I go, can I just highlight that we've got a webinar coming up that we'll be hosting on the 18th of March. Emma, now that she's a seasoned broadcaster, will be hosting that and going into more detail about how to achieve TISAX label. And that'll include some guidance on how to complete the VDA self-assessment. As you mentioned, VDA, the German Automotive Industry Association. The webinar attendees will also be able to get some freebies from us, such as an ISO 27001 versus TISAX comparison guide, and some discounts on the things we've just talked about, our TISAX services. There'll be a link to register to that event available in the show notes. So there's more on TISAX. Hopefully, we'll be able to expand our services and help more and more people on that. So thank you, Emma. It's been great, again, to talk to you. It's been eye-opening for me. As I said earlier, it's not my strongest suit, this side of things, and it's all been quite a lot of learning for me. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to everybody for listening. Finally, can I just remind everybody to subscribe to the ISO show on your preferred media player, if you've not already done so. If you've got just a few minutes to spare, please leave us a nice review on whichever medium you use. This helps us to get to more people, get to a wider audience. So please leave us a review. And again, as always, if you have any questions or suggestions for us on topics that you'd like to hear about, please send them to us, either email or add them as a comment on your media player. We'd love to hear from as many people as possible. We really want to know what's interesting to you and provide content that you want to hear about. So that's all from us today. And thanks for listening, and we'll catch up with you on the next ISO show.
Looking to use ISO standards to drive better business practice? Contact us at blackmoresuk.com to access further information and book your free 15-minute call.